What is good people? You are now listening to another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we're joined by an extremely special guest, actually an extremely special return guest. You know him, you love him. He's 1/3 of my all-time favorite podcast, the Fiyastarter Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Maryland's own KBadd in the building. What's good, KBadd?
What's happening?
Man,
brother? How you doing, man?
Man, all good over here, man. Glad that you could be back on to nerd out over some Orioles stuff because they're doing some pretty damn good things this year, and we'll get into that. But first and foremost, I saw that you recently had a trip to the Windy City. So what was that like for you? Was that your first time going there?
Yeah, that was my first time going to Chicago. I've never had a reason, I guess, to go to Chicago. It's one of those cities I always wanted to visit, but again, I guess I needed a reason. Because it's not a tropical location. It's not somewhere that you typically want to go for like a vacation or something like that. And, being from the East Coast, it's not like something that was within driving distance. So, growing up in Maryland and DC area, going to New York, Philly, Richmond, Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, those are, 4 or 5 hour trips, you can make those without really thinking about it. But this never had a reason to go to Chicago, man. So, went for the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists Convention. I'm sure a lot of people probably heard what happened there, the opening day of that Wednesday, and former President Trump spoke. I had feelings about it. We talked about it on the podcast, but all in all, man, just going to something like that and just seeing a lot of people that you respect in the business, being able to, chop it up with them. Also seeing a lot of, former colleagues of mine from mainly from ESPN. There's a few here and there from like USA Today and places like that, but mainly from ESPN, getting up with them. It was a great time, man. And Chicago, downtown portion where, we primarily stayed at, man, it's a beautiful city. They legit got a river going right down the middle of downtown, man. Never seen anything like it. So, you hear a lot about like the Riverwalk down in San Antonio. But they have a Riverwalk in Chicago, and the Chicago one blows San Antonio out the water, man.
Okay. I hear a lot of people talking about how great Chicago is in the summertime, and that's one of the things on my bucket list. So, yeah. I mean, technically I've been there, but it was on a layover, so I don't really count that. So I need to get the full experience.
Yeah, I mean, you were feet down, but and I'd actually have been through Chicago as well. Flying from DC to Vegas one time, I had a layover at Elway Airport. So I could say I technically had been to Chicago or the Chicago area, but again, just never had an opportunity to just kind of explore, go downtown and get some Heroes Chicken, all the stuff that you hear about, deep dish pizza and all that shit. Yeah, but it was a great time, man. Like I said, though, I was really, I don't know why I was surprised. Like I've always heard great things about Chicago, but just surprised is how beautiful it was, man. So,
word. So you get them feet down, that feet,
Yeah, get them feet down, Beat them feet down that joint.
So, football season is right around the corner, and I know you are a diehard Commanders fan. So, what are you, realistically, what are you expecting from your squad this year?
It's a good question, man. I've kind of gone back and forth on it. People that know me, will tell you, it depends who it is. Like Tone will tell you I'm always the pessimist. People that have known me, I think, since I was a kid, they'll probably tell you that I've always been a little more optimistic about my squad. Just because I want to see him do well. Getting rid of, Rivera, Dan Snyder selling the team has really put a battery in the back of a lot of fans because it seems like there's no longer like a dark cloud just over the team. We'll see, of course, long term what, Josh Harris, Magic Johnson, and all those guys, what they bring to the table in regards to, whether or not they're going to kind of just, and it seems like this has been the case, thus far, but I think people kind of thought it was the case when Snyder initially bought the team that he was going to be hands off and kind of let the football people make the football decisions. And he brought in a football guy. So I've been encouraged on that front. I know Rivera, he's going to catch shit for a long time from Washington fans for, some of these draft picks, dog. You can't have guys like Emmanuel Forbes not being a starter going into his second season when you drafted him in the first round last year. And especially
DB, right?
when you took him over Christian Gonzalez, who looks like, yes, out of Mississippi State. And you took him over Christian Gonzalez, who was widely regarded as the top corner in the draft. And now, I mean, I'm not saying that Manny Forbes is in danger of not making the team. Of course he's going to make the team. They just don't have the depth at corner. But a guy like that has to be a mainstay for you. He has to be a foundation of your defense. And he seemingly isn't going to be that. Jamin Davis, somebody that, coming into camp, it was question whether or not he's even going to make the team. And then you take him over a guy like Chris Derisaw, who I happened to coach in high school, who was an absolute monster at Virginia Tech. And now just signed a long-term contract extension with the Vikings, and he's going to be their franchise left tackle for the foreseeable future. And that's what you need.
Yeah,
a franchise left tackle right now. You're going to be starting Brandon Coleman, a rookie, at left tackle because of that hole that, Trent Williams, his departure left a gigantic hole in that team. And there was a guy that we could have drafted who was homegrown. And I don't know. I don't know what they saw in Jamin Davis, but it hasn't worked out. So when you don't win games, when you step out there on guys who, again, you can take what people look like, the Mel Kibers of the world, you can take what they say with a grain of salt. But even from football people, listening to football people, they're saying, like, I just didn't understand why Washington made this pick, why Washington made that pick. And now you're seeing 2-3 years down the line it hasn't worked out. That's rough, man. That can really set your franchise back, 4, 5, 6 years when they're trying to rebuild. When you whiff on guys in the first round the way it seems like Rivera and company did. So even though he's no longer with the team, it's some big holes on this team. Even Jahan Dotson, man, like, somebody that I was extremely high on coming out of Penn State, watched a lot of Penn State football. And I was genuinely excited when I saw that come across my Twitter timeline, like, yeah, the Washington's going to take Jahan Dotson. I went crazy because I didn't really expect it.
Yeah.
Now, like, you hear rumors about him. Brian B. Mitch talking about him. I mean, not talking about, he didn't say his name, but people were kind of speculating whether or not B. Mitch was talking about somebody at the wide receiver position who's got bad body language, kind of feels like, maybe entitled. Maybe the coaches kind of owe him something. And I'm like, damn, Jahan too. So, man, all the excitement around Jay and Daniels, getting new ownership, new management. It's like guys that we should be like leaning on, guys who should be like pillars. And it's like, we don't really know about them. So you think they got it right with Jay, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the offense is going to do this year. I think he's going to be lights out. And I think that, if you're a gambling man, I would put money on him being offensive rookie of the year. But yeah, man, I just wish I felt a whole lot better at linebacker, at corner, the positions that those guys were supposed to bolster. So,
yeah. Who's y'all's coach now?
Dan Quinn.
Okay, from the Falcons.
Yep.
Got you, man. Well, I hope they do. I hope they do well this year, man.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to look. And that's, again, mainly because of what I think Jay and Daniels brings to the table. But, the damage that Rivera did, it's not going to be reversed overnight. And it seems like they got the right people in place. So we'll see.
True. Now, we're here for this is for the main event right here. We had to talk about it because last year, you were a guest. This was early last year. And I got to go on record and say that you were the one that really put me in the know with Adley Rutschman. And you also went on record saying that Gunnar Henderson has the potential to be an MVP caliber talent. And, buddy, both of those things are you looking like Bad Stradamus right now. I gotta give you all your credit, bro.
Bad Stradamus. I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
Like, people love to talk about your misses, man, but they very rarely give you credit on your hits. So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, sometimes I wish that Tone, Sam, those are my guys, man. But, sometimes you just want to be recognized when you get it right. Again, because when you get it wrong, you'll never hear the end of it. But, man.
Well, that's the truth. But, man, first team to make it, first MLB team this year to get the 70 wins. So, man, how does it feel knowing that things have corrected themselves over in Birdland?
Um, it's kind of bittersweet just because of so much adversity that the team has faced this year. A lot of injuries. It seems like you can't really catch your breath sometimes. Like I'm always getting an alert on my phone, like this person is going on a deal, that person's going on a deal for a team that was already kind of pitching starved to now. I mean, the latest one, like Grayson Rodriguez is now on a deal. Who I think he was undoubtedly our number 2 guy. I think somebody that was kind of seen as like the ace of the staff before they made that move with Corbin Burns in the offseason. So to see him go down, it's been rough. Injuries in the lineup. Brandon Hyde, the manager, has made some dubious decisions, I say, over the last couple of weeks. And honestly, man, Gunnar, Adley, they kind of went cold after the All-Star break. I mean, going to the All-Star break, they were red hot. And really since then, man, like the bats have kind of cooled, and they've been relying more like Anthony Santon did. Jackson Holiday, who's been recalled, he's been playing fantastic. So those guys have kind of, picked up the slack a little bit, but you've really expected it more from. I mean, I can't forget about Colton Cowser as well. I know what all the talk about Adley Rutschman and him like turning into the prospect that people assumed he was. You take somebody number 1, you expect somebody's going to be like a perennial all-star, one of the elite players at a position. He has turned out to be that. Now, Bobby Witt Jr. went second in that same draft. And I think maybe coming into the season, I think people kind of viewed, Adley as, the guy that was wildly the number 1 guy coming out of that draft. So he was the number 1 pick and, looks like he's going to be the number 1 player. But Bobby Witt Jr. has been fantastic. So I'm not in any way second guessing that selection. But I think it goes to say a lot about Adley to see how good Bobby Witt Jr. has been. As you talk about MVP candidates, I think right now you probably have to rank him Judge 1, Witt Jr. 2, and probably Gunnar number 3.
Yeah.
But it goes to show you just how much, he's improved over the course of the season. So again, just to have Adley turn into that type of guy, and then Gunnar as well, somebody that wasn't, a top 10, top 15 pick. He was a sandwich guy between the first and second rounds. Not somebody that was seen as a clear-cut top flight prospect. He had a lot of work to do on his swing. Like there were some things that the Orioles had to do to get him to the spot that he was. So I know to see somebody be this good this early, people kind of assumed that he was like assumed to be that type of player. He wasn't. So all credit to the Orioles. I know, this past draft, they took this kid, Vance Honeycutt, out of North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Strong like an animal, but not a lot of plate discipline. But, the Orioles being that they've done so well in the draft over the last couple of years, they had this surplus of top prospect. They can take a chance on a guy like a developmental guy like that who has all the power in the world, but it needs to work on the swing a little bit, work on his plate discipline. So to see like the development of guys has been encouraging as well. So like, yeah, you're going to deal with bumps during the season. You're going to deal with injuries. You're going to deal with things like that. But I think the most encouraging thing, for Orioles fans, that even if it doesn't happen this year, I think they feel like they have a system in place. As long as Michael Elias is at the top of the food chain, they have a system in place that's going to allow them to develop guys. And I don't think we really saw that before. So to see guys like Samuel Basallo, they didn't really dip into Latin America a lot. Then they dip into Latin America and get a guy like that and develop him to the point where, if, you can't pay everybody. So if you don't pay Adley Rutschman whenever he comes up, you have somebody that could probably fill in that catcher and be potentially like an elite player at that position. So all kudos to Michael Elias, the system they got in place. So again, even if it doesn't happen this year, there's that system in place to make sure that we're going to be in contention for a long time.
Right on. And I had the pleasure of going up to the Charlotte Knights game back in April, and the Norfolk Tides had a weekend series with him, and getting to see Jackson Holiday firsthand, seeing him and I think the guy's name is Heston Kjerstad, I believe is his name.
Heston Kjerstad, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was the second pick in the 2020 draft, yeah.
Yeah, bro, you talk about an offensive juggernaut. No lie, KBadd, it was end of the first inning, it was 10-0 Norfolk. I was like, golly. It was just crazy to watch.
I mean, Kjerstad was, somebody that, you talk about the guys that they have now. he was supposed to be, a player kind of like in that conversation in the, Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday type of conversation, but he had that ailment that kind of set him back a little bit. But now that he's on the big squad and, he's showing why he was a number 2 pick in the draft. And what's funny is, like, you kind of get caught up in all this talk about Jackson Holiday being the top prospect in baseball, Gunnar Henderson being the top prospect in baseball. Colton Cowser is going to end up probably being the AL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And he kind of gets forgotten about in that conversation. I mean, he's been batting leadoff and he's been lights out. So it's just like an embarrassment of riches, man, of like really young talent. And to see where it was 4 years ago, 5 years, see where it is now, like it's night and day. And again, like it's one of those things where you go from being the worst team in baseball and it's like, damn, Angelos is going to own the team forever. We're awful. We don't have any young talent. And to see it kind of change the way it has over the last 3 or 4 years, man, has been one of the more pleasant developments, I would say, like as a sports fan. Because it looked like for a while, like I didn't really have anything to root for. And now Jaden Daniels gets drafted by the Commanders. Dan Snyder steals the team. Ed Cooley now comes in. He's the head coach at Georgetown. Like Baltimore is back. Like you feel like there's energy around the team. Like you go to games, there's an energy that I honestly haven't felt since the mid-90s. Like when we had Rafael Palmeiro, Cal Ripken, like those teams.
Yeah.
I haven't really felt it since then, man. So Roberto Alomar going down the line, man. Like, we had some loaded lineups back then. And to see like the lineup now, it kind of compares to those lineups back then. But again, let's just the energy around the team is different.
Yeah. And then after y'all lost in the ALCS last year, and I'm like, so I'm thinking to myself, so what steps do they take to, get over that hurdle? And then y'all turned around, excuse me, and got Corbin Burns. I was like, dog. Mm-hmm. They got the front of the rotation ace right there. I mean, y'all got things set in motion real quick.
That was a surprise. To see that alert, like sometimes you get alerts on your phone from your teams, and it's like, yeah, okay. And then you get one of those, and like Steve Harvey eyes immediately. I'm like, whoa. And then I understand that it's a one. Yeah, it's one of those, bro. Like, wait a minute. And then you start getting one from the Athletic, and I start getting one from the Washington Post, and I got one from ESPN. It's like, yeah, okay, all right, we in business now. Like, it's a 1 year rental going into it. But at the same time, like with new ownership, they're gonna try to keep them, and we'll see. Like if this was 6 years ago, I'm like, all right, they made this trade for nothing because, he gives you an opportunity if you make it to the playoffs, but you gave us some prospects for a 1 year rental because there's no way we're going to outbid the Angels. We're not going to outbid the Yankees like once it gets on the open market. But now with new ownership, they're saying, you know what, we want to keep our guys. If we make trades for players like this, we're going to be competitive. So I like to see it. Like Monique said in that gift, I like to see it.
Man, so yeah, that's y'all got a bright future, man. I'm really looking forward to see what y'all do in these next few years. It's really been a tight race in the AL East between y'all and the Yankees, and it's good to see y'all, both you and the Yankees, back in the driver's seat again. I enjoy it when baseball is.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
And so now we're gonna get
man. Go up.
I was going to say, since we did the five questions, since we did the 5 questions the first time, we're going to do 3 questions. So, again, all 3 questions are super random. So, question number 1, in your opinion, what's the most underrated fruit?
Damn, that's a good question. An underrated fruit. Are grapes underrated?
I mean, I wouldn't say that they're underrated. I think grapes seem to be a very common fruit.
Common fruit? All right. I can't say nothing like mango. I'm just thinking all the stuff that I like.
You can say mangoes because I don't really know too many mango enthusiasts.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, I was
the
real
only
late
thing
to the game
about
with
mangoes is Damn, for real? See, the only thing about mango is if you get a ripe one, it's a little slimy the cut, and it's a big pit in the middle. But if you go somewhere, don't mind spending the bread, go somewhere like Whole Foods, and you get the mango already cut up in like that little plastic container, it's going, you know what I'm saying? It's not cheap, but that's a nice little treat right there, man.
Can't go wrong with that. Question number 2. What's the last Busta Rhymes song that you really loved?
Busta Rhymes. Hey yo, these questions are random as shit. Hey yo, damn, I'm cooking. Why Busta Rhymes? Man, you gotta anti Busta Rhymes agenda. You try to catch people off guard, you know? Oh shit, man.
There's no agenda. It's just a random question.
You know what? It's a random question. All right, I'm gonna say it just because the video was so dope. Give me some more. I'll probably say that. Okay. I know there's probably a Busta Rhymes fan out there who was probably upset with it. Like, nigga, you don't remember? Like, look, man. I just remember that video. It was good. That song was catchy as hell. I'm going to say that.
All right. Question number 3.
Is that the right answer? I just want to know.
I was going to say my answer would be Don't Touch Me. Throw the water on them. That was probably the last one that I really loved.
All right, got you.
Question number 3.
Got you. Okay.
What's your all-time favorite college backcourt?
All-time favorite college backcourt? I'm not saying this is the best. I'm saying my favorite. My favorite all-time college backcourt is Allen Iverson and Victor Page. I don't have to think about it. Man, yes. To be in college at that time, to be a diehard Georgetown fan. First of all, I don't know if I've ever talked about this on our podcast, but the morning I graduated from high school, growing up in DC, I read the Washington Post every morning. That's how we got our news. That's how I got my sports news, is by staying up and reading the Washington Post every single morning. Dude, the morning I graduated from high school, Washington Post that morning, I'll never forget, my mom driving me to the National Basilica, Michigan Avenue, Washington, D.C., dog, pulling up, and I'm going through the paper, and it's like, yo, front page, Allen Iverson will play basketball at Georgetown. Bruh. Again, it's one of those things you just never, because, like, again, it's a completely different time. There's no cell phone. There's no social media. There's no instant news, no nothing like that. The only way you heard about something is that you had to hear about it, listen to it on the radio. You had to see it on television, or you had to read about it in the newspaper. So to have no warning that this was happening, and you just smack that, read that shit in the newspaper, dog, never forget it, man. And the following year, again, in the Washington Post, to read that Victor Page is going to be playing basketball at Georgetown, bro, and to see him and AI play together, dog, that man, they played an early season game against Temple at the Capitol Center, man. And I remember me and my boy Bobby White, who's also, went to DeMatha with me. That's my homeboy. We was in a dorm at his dorm at Hampton and watching the Temple Georgetown game, bro. And Slim, like, mind blown. Like, we got these two together. How the fuck don't we win a national championship?
Yep.
We didn't, because the only team I felt like could beat us that year, we ended up getting in the Elite Eight, was UMass. But I also maintain that if Georgetown beats UConn in the Big East tournament final that year, for those that remember, that's the year that Ray Allen hit that bullshit no-look jumper to beat Georgetown in the Big East tournament final. Bruh, South Carolina's own Ray Allen, if we beat UConn in the Big East tournament final, that we win that game, if Jerome Allen gets that miss, hits it off the glass, never understand how he missed that shot. If he makes that shot, we win the game. We get the number 1 seed in the West. We don't have to worry about UMass. I think to this day, I'll always maintain that UMass would have lost in the Final Four. We could have got to the final game without playing them. Again, going into the tournament, that was the only team I was afraid of. And because we got the number 2 seed, we got in the same bracket as them. But if we win that Big East tournament final, we don't get them. We win the national championship.
Man, and I tell you, Victor Page.
But that's how it goes.
I just hate to see how he ended up, man. That man he had a lot of stuff going on, and he just could not get right. But I'm 100% with you with that's my all-time favorite college backcourt as well.
Damn, yeah. It had a lot of impact on people. Of course, Allen Iverson, alone, but so many people from DC were rooting for Victor Page. He was a city legend, and I think when he got on the national scene, people just liked his game. Like, he was the lefty. He could cross you up. He could shoot it. He was athletic. D you up. He could run point a little bit. He was good in open floor. Like, Vic had game, man.
Yeah.
And, just to see, like you say, to see how everything turned out, him going to the combine and, kind of oversleeping a little bit, not really taking the process as serious maybe as he should have, and not getting drafted. And then, you don't get drafted, bro. That just kind of starts your nomadic career in basketball. And I don't think somebody like him was maybe, kind of built for like that nomadic basketball kind of lifestyle, man. And
yeah, he ended up in the CBA playing for Sioux Falls. I think they ended up retiring his number, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounded about right. I mean, he's somebody that, absolutely dominated that level. Had NBA talent, but having NBA talent, man, isn't, everything. So
that's
a whole lot that goes into that.
So anything you want to plug or promote, the floor is yours.
Hey, man, appreciate you having me on, my brother, as always, man. We don't really have, very long baseball segments on our podcast, man. So it's always good to come on and talk ball. If you like to follow me on social media, you can do so at KBadd. That's KBADDS. That's on X. On IG, I'm Kenny Badd. I'm kind of getting back on Instagram a little bit, posting a little bit more often. I pretty much left my Instagram alone. But I'm, posting stuff every now and then. So if you to follow me, you do so at Kenny Badd, KENNYBADD. And as always, you can listen to me, Tone, and Sam, or me, TKO and Bossa, I should say, on the Fiyastarter Podcast that comes out every late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, wherever you listen to your podcast. Check it out. We've been doing it for a minute now. I was thinking the other day, like, just how long we've been doing it. But if you haven't heard of it by now, I appreciate it. Listen.
Yeah, my all-time favorite podcast. Y'all got to get with it. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to the Fiyastarter Podcast. And make sure you like, download, and subscribe to At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is at Danny Foxworth 843. There you can find the videos for all the episodes for this podcast, as well as my other podcast, Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth, and my new podcast, Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. KBadd, bro, it's always a pleasure chopping it up with you. Seriously.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you, man. Like, it's anytime, dog, man. The pleasure's all mine, dog.
Yes, sir. Round of applause for KBadd. And this has been another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. And until next time, y'all be good. 3 strikes.